Welcome to the show with Bob.
Let's try that again. I think Joe may well have been muting me while I was unmuting myself there. Apologies. But good evening. Let's start again and welcome to this week's edition of Drie, Bokke, Ball and BlitzBOD. We have an absolute cracker for you this evening. I'm so excited. The man next to me is so excited. So let me introduce my co-host for this evening. He is one of the main men from SA Rugby Fans, a Facebook that has over 46,000 Springbok members and fans in it. Drie, how are you? And are you excited for this evening? Oh, we seem to have lost Dre. While we're trying to find Dre, I'm going to just say a few thanks to a few people that help us along the way here. Calpify, who are based here in Pal, a media solutions company, who do all our beautiful titles at the beginning of our shows. So thank you very, very much to them. And then also to our main sponsor of the evening, Cape Famous Gin. Guys, available on Takealot, fantastic gin. It's just gone down in price on Takealot to $2.99. And usually is 300 plus. So they've got the citrus one and they've got a famous one. Absolutely fantastic. Just because it's a bit chilly now, there's always time for gin. For those of you in the UK and Ireland, we're trying our best. They're trying their best to get it to you. And as soon as that is done, then we will most certainly let you know. But enough of me. This is not why you are all here tonight. Oh, are we back? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Fantastic. Dre, tell us a bit about SA Rugby Fans for us. Obviously fantastic, 40,000 followers on there. Tell us what your aim is and what you do.
Sure. Hi everybody, I'm from SA Rugby, not Meg. I'm from SA Rugby Fans. We have an awesome forum where we just share the passion and love for the game. We have a lot of banter and share a lot of memes and have fun with one another in the love of the game. And yeah, so we are one of the fastest growing Facebook pages in the world. That's a stat, that's a fact, you can look it up. We are now at 46,000, growing fast. And yeah, we just have a lot of fun engaging with passionate rugby fans and so on. Yeah.
Awesome. So everyone get following SA Rugby Fans. Not only will Dre be there posting all the time, but he very kindly posts all of our shows on there as well. And you may or may not know this, but Dre has also made all our lovely sort of posters, let's call them that, and our all of our sort of advertising collateral that goes onto Twitter and Facebook that you will have seen in the last few weeks, which is great. And thank you very much for that, Dre.
Yeah.
Right. You're not here to see us. You're here to see the man that I'm about to introduce. The man divides opinion like no other in South African rugby, but his teams and his achievements on the field put him in the upper echelons of world rugby coaches. As he says to me regularly, he didn't just break my heart in 2009 with the Lions. He did it every time because he never ever lost to England as well. He won the Tri Nations in 2009. The Springboks were the first team, his Springboks were the first team to ever beat New Zealand at Dunedin's famous House of Pain. But he's also the last man to ever mastermind a series victory over the travelling British and Irish Lions in that epic battle of 2009. He is, of course, Mr. Peter de Villiers.
Andrew, just to let you know from the production team here, Peter's dropped out. We're trying to get him back in. So perhaps you could just cover about how things are planning for rugby with South Africa moving forward and helping get them back in.
Yeah, well, actually, I think Dre can probably pick us up on that one. And yeah, tell us where you believe Springbok rugby is at the moment. Is it a false dawn after the World Cup, or are we going to see some domination for a few years, Dre?
Well, at the moment, there's a lot of uncertainty because of our new coach, who's also Rusty's brother-in-law. So there's a lot of around that he can do the job. Rusty seems to have a lot of confidence in him, but then again, it's his brother-in-law, so it can't really be that subjective around that area. But it looks exciting. We got a good crop of players coming through the ranks. You can see in Super Rugby, a lot of youngsters coming through. I think it's going to be the tough job is going to be being a Springbok selector and getting the right guys on the field, which Rassie seems to be a pro in, and we all know he's still the SA Rugby director, so I'm sure he's going to have a lot of say in what's going to transpire in the Springboks coming in the future. A lot of talk now. I think the big news is about Jake White and the Bulls and around the players he's bringing in. I read an article this morning on one of the newspapers that said, is Jake White trying to coach the Stormers? Is that his dream to coach the Stormers? But I reckon it's around, he brought Alistair Coetzee on as one of his coaches. And I think Alistair's the one that's roping in all his old players. You know, coaches like to go with guys they trust, guys they know. So I think Alistair's bringing a lot of the old guys like Ramka, who signed now for the Bulls. And let me tell you, the Stormers fans are up in arms about it. Not really happy about Nizam playing with the Bulls. They want to come home. And they couldn't get Ashley. What's his name? The Wasp player, Ashley Johnson. Yeah, they couldn't get Ashley time. I think he's seeking citizenship in England. Apparently, I read that he's got some ties to joining England in a coaching capacity. Have you heard of it?
Well, he actually turned down the contract with the Bulls and then promptly left Wasps. So there's going to be a lot of rumour around at the moment about a lot of players. I think some of this coronavirus will also, I think, potentially prolong some careers. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Guys, I know you're expecting to see Peter de Villiers on your screen at the moment. We are having some technical issues, but I believe, after an amazing introduction from myself, he may actually be ready to come on the screen. And there he is. How are you, sir?
Even the bad times are good, eh? Oh, I'm telling you, it's such a privilege to be here with you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much. Dre's going to kick us off, I think, with his very first question for you, sir.
Hello. I can't see Coach.
That's okay. He can hear you. It's all good.
Okay. Hi, Coach. I can't hear him.
Okay. Can you hear me, Peter?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay. How are you? Tell us how you are. How are you getting through lockdown? What are you up to at the moment? Tell the world what Peter de Villiers is doing.
Andy, believe it or not, I'm more busy than ever. New ideas come into my head, new ways of playing, and new styles of adapting to circumstances. It's all up here, and I can't wait to implement it on the field. I don't know if I will have a chance, if there will be opportunity to do it. But if not, I would gladly pass it on to somebody who can do it. I'm so excited about what's in my head at the moment. I can't wait to see it unfold on a rugby field.
And what exactly are you doing? Because I saw that you've been doing a lot of coaching clinics, and one of the things that you're really keen on at the moment is coaching coaches, which probably doesn't get spoken about too often, because we're all talking about players and their conditioning and during this. But just just highlight to us how important it is for coaches to be coached, especially the ones that are starting at a lower level and potentially want to follow in your footsteps up to the top?
And it's so important. Step number one, if you don't know who you are, there's no way that you can coach anybody else, because people take their clue from you. Players has an X-ray eyes. They see right through you as a person, and they will react to that, and they will give their best. If they see you pure, if they see they can trust you, they will give their best. Now, what levels of coaching does to our coaches, it's a skew image of coaching. They think the more they know about the game technically, the stronger they are. The technical part of the game is so very, very important, because that is actually your cornerstone, your rock that you build your whole trademark on. So you do have to those that is not the that should not be questionable. But the one thing that makes you actually a very, very good coach is the fact, if you can psychologically get into the minds of yourself, firstly, if you can lead yourself to the next level, and then if you can reach the soul of the players. Because what coaches tend to do is that they want to work with players' skills. And skills is a given. God has given them that skills already. They do have it. It's not about the skills, it's what goes with the skills. And some of the coaches lack those kind of in-depth working with players, working with people, and then players are only doing what required of them. They won't go the extra mile to make them look very, very good out there. So yeah, for me, it's so important that the players do understand that they are working with somebody who's you can't take anybody to the next level, Andy. No matter who you are, you need to be at the next level to pull them to you. And that is my main job now, is to get most of the coaches to the next level so that they can actually instill that kind of confidence into the players that they're working with.
And just on that, obviously, when you become a head coach or a director of rugby, or you're managing a big, not only team that's on the field, but also, say, call it backroom staff, as we like to call it. How, as a coach, do you make sure that you've got the right personalities around you for when you're not around, so to speak? So if someone's doing individual training with a fitness coach or a conditioning coach, how not only have the players got to buy into your philosophy, but surely the coaches have as well. And even the trainer, I mean, you told me a story a couple of weeks back about how you had to switch one of the trainers or the physios out because they were more interested in becoming friends with the players, which meant they probably would have potentially lied to you or not told you the full truth about a player's fitness. So how do you go about surrounding yourself with the right people to entrust?
Your systems that you put in place, your systems will actually push people out because they can't work in the system. They can fool everybody. They can fool themselves. But they can't fool the system. If you do have the right systems in place. So what I tend to do is I put out a framework, and that's me. And the picture in the framework is the player. The player is the picture. If any of my background staff became more important as the background than the picture, I can't have him around anymore, because the picture is the only thing that should draw the attention of the people, and the picture is your assets, and the picture makes your money, and the picture actually put out what you stand for there. They put the marker down for whatever you stand for and what your organization is all about. So that's very, very important, that your frame is there, that's me, your main picture is there, then everybody else fill in the background. Sometimes you only become a branch of a tree, but you are so important to get your players to sit in the shade that you must understand that you have to give shade. And that is the little things that's so important for me as a coach, that you need to get people who trust themselves first, who also know who they are, and who know where they can be and how they can get there on their own through the opportunities that the organization poses to them.
Fantastic. Just very quickly, just going to stop you. We're just going to try and bring Dre back in because I know he's got a question on some coaching for you. Fingers crossed. There he is. Can you hear us, Dre? Can you hear us, Dre? Right, I think he's maybe muted or whatever. I think Dre's question to you, Peter, was on recovery, and quite a sensitive subject at the moment, especially in South African rugby. Some of it's proven, some of it's quite anecdotal, shall we say, on drug use in sport. I'm not aiming this question at any specific squad before anyone thinks I'm a bitter Englishman. But there is obviously, there seems to be, reading between the lines, an issue. Now, the question that Dre wanted to ask you was that should we be allowing some form of monitored drug use with regards to recovery? Not so much to do with performance enhancing, but being able to recover quicker, therefore being able to train better, shall we say, and more effectively to get us to the next game.
The first thing you need to understand for yourself before you ask that question is, what is recovery? If you understand what recovery is, and then you will understand what will enhance so that you can get to recover to the best of your ability. In 1997, when I was with the Springboks, we went to study the recovery methods, and one thing we came across was the Comrades Marathon. We discovered that the Comrades, the intensity of the Comrades is as high as a rugby game, but the runners in the Comrades have 6 months or 3 months to recover. You have 1 week to recover. Okay, so there's no way that your recovery can be put into your in season. You need to work on your recovery strategies on your off season too. So the workload that you put in without competition during the off season and the pre-season will determine how quick you can recover. And recovery is all about fitness. What we need to understand too is that if you copy from other sports like netball and soccer, and especially boxing, if you look at boxing, there's a thing called a fighting fit weight. We, in America, with the basketball, they have thrown it out of the window now. And here in South Africa, we have already long time we threw it out of the window. We forgot about the fighting fit weight. Everybody's too light and everybody's this and that. And they exceed their fighting fit weight. Now, every time that you exceed it with every pound or every kg you exceed it, it's like a bag of stones you are carrying with you when you're running. So your recovery will definitely be worse than anything else. And if you make use, if there's no natural recovery that can take you again to go perform at your highest level and best level again, it will cost at the end. You will pay the price of that. So you will have short term success, but long term you will have big problems with you. And as a family man, that's not something that I want to put on players, because after their playing careers, they do have a family to look after, and they can't look after him because of what he did put in just for some fame and fortune when he was playing. So yeah, I think your recovery methods, it differs. Science has grown so much. What was applicable 4, 5 to 10 seasons ago is now 7, 8 best way of recovery. There's new methods coming onto the market every time, and that is why your medical team needs to be on the ball. They need to understand those kind of things, because I don't need the player to be big. I just need him to be ready and fit to go for 80 minutes to go do a job what everybody's paying for at the gate, you know.
Yeah, it probably doesn't help when the CEO of South African Rugby is telling that only the biggest players will get picked, as he did a few years back, which probably sets a bit of a mindset. Dre, this is it. Come on, tell me you can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Perfect. Yeah,
Awesome.
perfect. We're going to move on. We're going to move on now to some pivotal moments in Peter's career, and we're going to start in 2011, Dre. And I want you to start. Tell me your version of events at a certain Rugby World Cup quarterfinal, and then we're going to ask Mr. De Villiers whether he still likes Bryce Lawrence. Let's be honest.
Good. let me ask you something. I think a lot of fans would want to know, because it's something I've asked on my page many times. What do referees do half time when they go back to wherever they go after they had a crap first half? Does anybody come up to them and say, "Listen, you are blowing nonsense. You gotta look at this," or do they have a coach or someone who can give them a pep talk and say, "Listen, maybe you should look at something else"? Or what do they do during halftime? Do you know?
Yeah, some of them go to the manicure. They go do their nails and they go do their eyes and do all this nonsense, you know. I'll see on a serious note. It's frightening if you hear what really happens during halftime, because their coaches and their assessors and everybody has a word to them. Sometimes if like a penalty count is say 10-3 at halftime, they will come and say, you must look at your penalty count. 10-3 to the one side doesn't look good for your image. So then he will go back and he will go find penalties on the other side just to make it equal. You know, they are referees to me. Are more fake than WWF is. They look for the flavor. They look for the flavor of the month, and then their minds is not on everything else. There is so much in the game that people want to be part of, but what we tend to grow into now, it's so far from the game itself, you know. I mean, we soften the scrums, we soften the tackle area, we softened all those kind of things. And the one thing that made rugby is the fact that everybody has fear. Everybody has fear. In this game of rugby, you can't show me a player who doesn't have fear. Your biggest thing is to go find the opponent's fear because he finds yours.
Yeah.
Before he finds yours, if you find his, then you're in control. Now they take the fear factor out of the game. So suddenly there's like our country, because people don't fear anybody, the crime rate just goes up and up and up. And that is what's happening on the rugby field, and now the referees paying the price because of not being honest and not being true to themselves. And another thing, when we played, the referee was the sole judge of the game. The referee will go now to Heavenly Father, and he will go to he will go everywhere, even for TV. He asks a lot of people, "What is your opinion?" before he gives his opinion. And I don't think anybody can take responsibility for that. So if people don't need to take responsibility, they don't need to be good at all.
Good. So I saw Jonathan Kaplan came out, I think 2 weeks ago, and he said at the time, obviously, Bryce Lawrence was one of the best refs in the game at the time. But he said he felt he was just having a bad day. Do you agree with that, or how do you feel about those comments? Could he have been having a bad day, or was he just blatantly cheating?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know the character. I don't know the character itself. I went to study him before the World Cup. Bryce Lawrence makes 4 mistakes per game. 4 match-costing mistakes he makes in average per game. In that game, he made 27.
Yo.
So if you take 4, that's a bad game. You take 27. He had almost 8 bad games in one. So he had a bad year in one game, you know. And the second thing in that game, Bryce Lawrence is like me. Our short people, we cocky. Our mouth and our attitude is our biggest asset, you know.
And then
Bryce Lawrence never allowed the captains to talk to him. In that game, he allowed John 6 times and Victor 4 times to talk to him. And his attitude was, sorry, I didn't see. I will look at it next time. And that is not Bryce Lawrence, you know. So he he was a different guy on that field.
Also, do you, in your opinion, do you think that referees are too protected? Well, like you can't speak out against them as a coach or as a player.
Yeah, you got no right to reply as a coach or a player.
It's like a rating system where they are punished for having bad games. What is your opinion around that?
Well, people say when money comes into anything, it buggers up the whole thing. If you look at what referees were in the past, you didn't even know who was that referee on the day.
Yeah.
You must really go look back and to see who was that referee on the day. Now they're so prominent that everybody after the game talks about the referee and their calls and their mistakes and their way of going and their attitude. That the players disappeared who are actually the main pictures or should be the main people on the field. And that was my fight with the referees. I told the referees that if you don't show respect to my team, I will personally tell them not to show respect to you. I don't care if we lose. Because this game is more than just a game on the field. This is to build character, and this is to build people up and to have the people who come to watch the game to learn something maybe for their future life.
Yeah.
And if you can't respect my players, I can't have my players to respect you. They're not school children.
Cool.
They don't need to stand in front of you like going to a principal, you know.
Yeah. Cool. Just before we move forward to the next subject, Joe, there's a couple of questions there I think you might want to throw out for Peter.
Yeah, good evening, gents. Fascinating chat. Great to listen to you, Peter. Thank you for your time. Mark Flemix is on the show tonight. Gregor Galway's on the show. Joandre Joubert is on. Brandon Smith, good evening to you. David Topping up in Ulster. Mark Flemix is there. And we've got a question here that I'm going to throw up for Coach Peter from Miles Richards. Miles, Peter says, out of interest, which player in your time as the box coach brought the squad together in order to strive for one goal, other than, of course, the captains? Who was the standout player who brought the team together, other than the captains during the time in charge of the box?
Yo, Joe, I'm telling you, this is actually one of my biggest assets. I understood what the professional era is all about. I know that professionalism is not about being paid, it's about produced to be paid. And I taught my players to take responsibility for the space that they were in. John was one of them. I did a brain profile on all my players before we went to the World Cup. And there was a few players who never had, out of the 10 personal goals for the World Cup, there was a few of them who never had one personal goal going to the them in and spoke to them. They say, now my personal goal is that the team should prosper. So I'll put all my goals aside for the team. So yeah, we had a few guys that were really outstanding. I can't mention one name. It was actually, we had almost 7-8 guys around John who took control of the small micro parts of the game, so that the rest can follow them. Somebody had to control defense when we were defending. Other had to control defense when we were actually going forward. We had attacks on the blind side, attack on the open side. People that organized that. There were a few guys who were really in charge of the lineouts. People were in charge of the scrums. And I wanted them to take charge because, and people who don't understand professionalism will tell you that the players did coach the team. I think they are right. The players did coach the team within the
We're not having much luck with Wi-Fi tonight, that's for sure. Oh, I was enjoying that far too much, Peter. Okay, cool. We'll try and get Peter back on. We're having some serious third world Wi-Fi problems here in South Africa tonight. Clearly happening. So hopefully he can can reboot and come back to us, mate. Just quickly go back to that 2011 quarter final. Tell me your emotions on the day. I mean, there must have been a lot of anger after it. It wasn't good, was it?
Oh my word! It was. I remember almost breaking my TV on that day, and I lost today. I really did lose it. Like I never knew Bryce Lawrence up before that. I never really knew him. I don't think anyone really knew in South Africa at that time. And I lost it. I was like, what? I am of this opinion that because rugby's gone mainstream, obviously it's run by, and it's run by bookies. So like Peter said, money buggers up everything. So when there's money involved, I don't know. I just don't. So I was speechless, absolutely speechless. And I felt sorry for the backlash that Price received, because obviously it ended up him losing his career. And there was a in New Zealand with a namesake with his name, Bryce Lawrence, and he actually had to get an unlisted number because
that's right.
Calling him up at 3 o'clock in the morning and cursing him and giving him death threats. So it was the backlash hectic. But I tell you what, I'm glad we won this year. Last year, hey, we needed it. So
this show's about Peter Villiers, yeah, not about England. I'm just saying. Right, let's hope we get back soon. Just for everyone's scope.
I was offline when you asked him about the substance. What was his answer?
That players should be able to recover purely through their own training, and if they're fit enough and at weight, then they shouldn't need any sort of substance at all. So, yeah, absolutely.
Andy, sorry, just while we're waiting to try and get Coach Peter back in, perhaps both of you can tell the viewers what your greatest memory of Coach Peter was. What stood out? Andre, start with you. What stood out about Peter de Villiers the best for you as a fan?
Oh, definitely the Dunedin win, New Zealand. I remember Ricky January scoring the winning try underneath the Bulls. That was just the most amazing thing ever, because it was our first time, and obviously it was New Zealand, our arch rivals. It was just incredible. And I remember at the time there was a lot of negative press around Coach at the time when he was playing around in New Zealand, and we won that game, and everybody thought we were going to lose. And like I said, the Ricky January try was just, and I remember there was a lot of, Coach, you received a lot of backlash around your selection of Ricky.
Yeah, just leading into that game. Obviously, 2008 wasn't a vintage year for the Springboks. Let's be frank about it. It would, you lost actually quite a lot of games. I think, New Zealand one stuck out that was a great win. We'd probably say in the modern, obviously that was the modern day, but now we'd say that you were in a transitional phase. That's the buzzword now. Were you experimenting that year, Peter, or was it just waiting for that sort of synergy to come together? And then it did come together in Dunedin, and what a place to do it. Just talk us through that year and what led to you beating the All Blacks down there.
Yeah, Andy, it was a very difficult year for South Africa at the whole, because if you look at firstly what Regan Hoskins said. Regan Hoskins said that I was not there for rugby reasons only, I was there for political reasons too. Now, how do you think can that instill confidence into a team that will be coached by somebody who doesn't have any rugby credentials according to them? Leading up to that, in 2007, Jake White said he knew that that they didn't want him anymore, and he said to the players that that if I am coming in, I'm gonna make the team black, I won't give them all chances, and that is why John and Victor and Percy and those guys, they went off to France and went to play overseas because they thought that all those negative stuff that people spread. And then the president says these things, and then there's a voting 11 to 10. There's no trust, and then you have the newspapers, and you have all those kind of things, you know. So the off the field stuff was really severe. The black people in South Africa didn't wanted the Springboks to win, but they wanted me to win. The white people didn't want me to win, but they wanted the Springboks to win. So if you count that, you can see everybody wanted us to lose, you know, for one or the other reason. So and those players, they have families, they have friends, they're hearing all those nonsense, you know. So now you need to go back. You need to go back to go run the Comrades in Durban, but you need to run from Cape Town to Durban first to get there because you don't have money. So when you start the Comrades, there's already a hell of a burden on you. So it took us quite a while. It took us quite a while to get over those things, you know. And my talk to some players. Yeah, I need to. I mean, if you look at a guy like Fourie Pre, for instance, I think he's one of the better scrum halves in world rugby ever. But if you look at a guy like Ricky January, he's the best that you can find on a day. He had different attributes, and that is how I selected my team. You know, I didn't select a name. I look at the attributes and what I wanted on the day, what I want to go play, and then I will fill it with a name. The same with Bismarck and John. I never dropped John because of Bismarck or because of John. I looked at what attributes and what are we playing today, and who's the one that can take 4 or 5 or 6 guys around him to get to our goal. You know, so those were the things that I need to look at, and the one thing that you must understand about a player who has fear in him, they don't want to underperform because he's so afraid to be dropped that he never performed. And those were the things that we had to get over to the players and cross to the players and say, listen here, guys. And you know what? You can't buy respect, and you can't buy trust, and you can't buy those kind of attributes, and just to live it out and show it, and it came to grip. And you could see in 2009 when people start trusting each other, trusting the systems, you could see those kind of things. And then you must understand, I was working with people too in my backroom staff, you know, and those people were connected to people too, you know, and those people were talking to players also. So what did come out of there? A youngster might come to somebody and says, yo, when is I going to get a chance? And then that guy will say, I believe you the best. You should have been there. And that will get to the next player and to the next player. So now suddenly I'm not honest anymore, you know. It's little things that we needed to just get out of the system first. And then one thing you need to understand, the 2007 Springboks were successful in the World Cup. You need to understand that. So the wealth of experience that they are bringing to you, if you don't leverage on those things and use it to the best of the team, you're failing the country. And to me, that was more important than the people of the country. I wanted the team to be the team of the country. I want them to go practice at fields where people who couldn't afford a test ticket could. Country. Those were the little things we need to work on so that things can work. And the players weren't very happy with those kind of things because they were used to private schools and behind locked gates and all those kind of years. Suddenly they have to practice in front of 3, 4, 5,000 police around them. And all and so yeah, it was a very.
We get the most engaging guest on ever, and this is unfortunately what's happening. Let's not under-egg what Peter achieved on the field against a lot of adversity, whether you believe that or not. It clearly was, and the results that came in 2009, which we'll touch on in a minute, obviously proved that, and we're going to start at the back end of 2009 and work our way back towards the beginning of 2009 and that very, very infamous British Lions tour. But 2009, Dre, for you, the Tri-Nations, I mean, beating New Zealand 3 times in a series, unreal. And Richie McCaw, as we've seen, has been doing the rounds on social media today, said that the toughest team he's ever played against was Peter Villiers 2009 Springboks. What do you remember of that team and that tournament and going down to New Zealand and just consistently beating them? I think they South Africa lost to Australia. Those very random bad performance in the middle of the tournament, but generally speaking, dominated world rugby in 2009.
That team was packed full of legends. I mean, South African legends that we would tell our grandkids about, you know. And a lot of those guys are given the credit for the wins that Peter has under his belt, and it's a bit unfair. Yes, they were the players. You know, I remember when Gary Kirsten won the World Cup, the Cricket World Cup with India, and they interviewed him. And he said these words. He said, you know, these guys are professionals. They don't need someone to tell them how to play. They just need someone to encourage them. And I believe that's what makes a great coach. And if you listen to our coach Peter speaking, he's someone that identifies and encourages and motivates. And that's what you need in a coach. Not someone to tell you how to play. These guys have been playing rugby their whole life. They know how to play. On the day, the only thing that separates two teams are the mindset of the guys, you know. And you can see when a player is unhappy and he plays, his performance is not as great. Like look at the Springboks side of Heineken Meyer and even Alistair could say, you could see they were divided and they weren't really a team. Hey, coach, and is he back? Andy?
I think we're struggling a bit for Wi-Fi. Keep going.
Keep going. And so when you have a guys that were as united as the 2009 Peter de Villiers squad, it shows good leadership. It shows on the part of the coach. Yes, they were great players, but it shows the type of leadership they were under. You know, when the leader is catching on rubbish and the players are happy, you can see it. We saw it against Japan, we lost. We saw it against Italy, we saw it against Argentina. Guys were all playing for themselves because there was, I believe, in my humble opinion, I believe there was no transparency. Everybody was playing for their own spot. Nobody was playing for the team. And I think that's one thing that stands out for me for the 2009 Tri-Nations. Those oaks were playing for one another. They played their hearts out, not for themselves, not for position, but for their team. From 1 to 15, even to the bench, they all came on and they had a job to do, and they did it. And I think that's the main thing when you have proper leadership. You know, we're not tells the guy how he must play, but can motivate him. You know, obviously we all go through things, and even players go through things mentally. That's why they have psychologists that work with the guys to find out how they are mentally, how are things at home, how are you doing, and that's those things are very important. And so when you look at the 2009 squad, you one thing stands out for me is they all were happy. Similar to what's happening now in the current Springbok team. And I know we're not talking about them, but if you think back to 2009 and you compare it to 2016, 2015, those guys weren't happy. And they can say what? They weren't happy. And showed because of poor leadership and whatever, and politics, whatever. But I believe Coach Drie did a wonderful job, even though he doesn't get credit for it. he probably will never get credit for it, for reasons that we will never really probably get into and never really be admitted to. But I believe there was an agenda from the beginning to discredit him, to make him look bad. But unfortunately, he pulled through, and he's got a good CV, so to say. That's one thing that can't be taken away, his record. You know, yeah, you can praise guys like Victor and Buckies and all the folks he had with him. But at the end of the day, he was the captain of the ship. He led the way. And so you've got to give credit where credit is due. You know, I also research Andy for the show. I came across a Fox Sports in Australia. They were talking, and they were talking about Coach Drie, and they were saying, "Oh, this clown! Look at this! What this clown is saying." But they don't understand what he's saying. He was I think he was mentioning some quotes, but it's all. If you listen to him, he's very into psychological quotes, so into psychology. He understands the mind, and you hear him speak about the left brain and the right brain people, and all these things. And so they didn't understand him, and they were making fun of him. And I thought it was so unprofessional, especially in the sport that we all love, which is respect and honor. I mean, I thought to myself, this is our soccer. These guys can't be making fun of another man like this in rugby, and especially a coach of the Springboks who whooped their asses.
We've unfortunately have to put up with Australian commentary during Super Rugby as well. We all know the people who stand on the side of the pitch, I think that I saw there was a forward pass last year, and Rod Kafer was begging for an offside call against New Zealand, so that says everything about that. Dan Van Sale, one of my fellow hosts, is in contact, and just going back to what you were saying there, Andre, saw that on the tour to Ireland in 2011 when Peter was in charge. He empowered players and coaches. All his assistants went onto better things, which said a lot about the head coach. He made others feel important. I think that's really a very, very valid point in the fact that I think one of the things you've got to remember in professional sport is that you are a professional sportsman, like as in you are a profession in your trade. So I wouldn't walk tomorrow into I don't know, whatever, a building site. I know nothing about building, and then all of a sudden, like, I start shouting the odds to people on what they should be doing. I should be there just to manage people, because they're the experts. They're the experts, so you're going to empower them to be that. So exactly that. So the fingers crossed we'll get Peter back in a second, and I'm really apologies for this tonight. It's we're having some serious Wi-Fi issues, which is drastic. But I'm going to go and open an old deep wound now and talk about the 2009 British and Irish Lions tour. For me, after '97, probably the greatest.
Where were you in 2009? Were you here? Or you were
living in the UK, but the British Lions holds high regard for me. I'd probably put it above. Dare I say it, a World Cup win, and again, not a better Englishman. It's just how I've been brought up in the rugby world. Lions tour for me is the absolute pinnacle for any player. So in 2009, we come over, bit of a scratchy tour. Ian McGeechan, obviously, absolute Lions legend, and we get to the first test. And if you remember rightly, the Lions made a bit of a comeback, but didn't quite make it all the way. But that was probably one of the greatest test matches I've ever watched, followed very closely by probably the best test match I've ever watched. And I think that is one of the, for me, going back to Joe's questions earlier, is what probably defines Peter's tenure as the Springbok head coach. That was, Mr. Wilson was, and great day that was. He was also talking when we got beat 42-6 by Peter's Springboks as well. With me, and I just think that 2009 team, I mean, you look at the back row, you've got Brousseau, you've got Spies, you had Skulkberger. Obviously, we know who the second rows were. It was the coming of beast, shall we say. What do you remember of that squad? What do you remember of that time? The series, what was it like for South Africa during that series when the Sea of Red turns up?
It was crazy. I remember putting on the TV and I was like, why is there so much red jerseys? Where are all the green jerseys? And it was just red. And it showed the support from British and Irish. And I thought it was incredible. It was just sad to see them losing. But let me tell you, a couple of players stood out for me. It was Rob Colley. He dismantled those high kicks from Mornay. Oh, all those bombs Mornay put up, he put it down. And I tell you, if he hadn't been there, we would have gotten a lot more points. Could have easily put on 50. But he was like a rock in the back of the way. And I think it was a brutal series. I remember watching. I watched a documentary on behind the scenes of the Lions tour, and it was the guys filming the British and Irish guys. They obviously had a film crew with him for the entire series, and I remember the tension was in the camp and how they were crapped on, how they had to take responsibility for everything, and it was just so intense. Like these guys would have given their left arm to win that series. That's how intense it was. I remember the training camps and all these things they were going through. It's like a two and a half hour documentary on YouTube I watched.
Yeah.
I'll send you the link again, but it was just incredible.
I've watched every minute of every documentary on the British Lions, mate. They do one every tour. But, it's funny, hey, I've been fortunate to sit with Peter recently and chat, which has just been which has obviously been amazing. One of the things he said was one of the things he said about playing against Ian McGeechan, and it did resonate with me, is that to find a weakness in McGeechan is incredibly hard. Yeah. However, I did know was that he was an external motivator. Therefore, he was talking about the people back in the UK, talking about the people back in Ireland, who knew they were playing the shirt for, who were they representing, and there was no actually internal motivation of who's going to smash up that first scrum, who's going to smash up for that. And he goes, that's what we focused on. We focused on sending people backwards.
So Andy,
and that's what happens.
Let me ask you this: what are you expecting for the coming tour? What are you expecting?
I'm expecting, fingers crossed, 3 of the greatest Test matches that we're ever going to watch. My fear is, this might be a bit controversial, is that we actually go into the Test series undercooked because of the state of Super Rugby at the moment. Because you've got to remember that we probably won't play too many of the Springboks during the Super Rugby matches. And yeah, I'm just not sure we're going to get tested as much as well. And that's not an arrogant thing to say at all. I'm actually just worried about the quality of player that is left in South Africa at the moment. You may see some coming back for next season. I don't know. Peter Steph-Decoy's obviously decided to stay on for another season. The Stormers might actually become, the hardest game with who they've got. So I can't wait. I literally cannot wait. It's been my dream to go on a Lions tour and also, the country.
And here's a question that's been going around: who should captain the BNI Lions? Who should be the captain?
It's a funny one. I think if you were to pick it tomorrow, I think you would. You'd probably get Alan Wynne-Jones to do it. However, there is another Six Nations to be played. There is a lot more rugby to be played. England seem to have picked themselves up from the World Cup. Let's see what happens after this break. Started playing some good rugby again. We know Farrell's a leader. The reason I think they might be Farrell is because it would just really annoy South Africans. Simple as that. We know, but it might be a reason why they don't pick him at the same time. So, look, Maro would be a fantastic captain. There's a lot of leaders in there. So I don't think the Lions are going to be defined necessarily by who they pick as captain, but more about the amount of leaders that will be in that squad and will be in that Test team. yourself, what you think?
What did your starting 15 look like?
Nike. If on form, yeah, on form. Oh, crikey, you caught me out here now. So there's going to be Mako, Jamie George, and then there's a few there, isn't there? There's a few of the Irish and the Welsh boys, so I'll pass on that one. Mauro will be in the row with I actually do think Alan Wynne-Jones will sneak that test spot because he battling love, quite frankly. Number 8 will be interesting. Be interested to see if Falatau gets back to any sort of form in the next season, which would be a yes. Fantastic. We're just talking. We're going to jump back now. We're going to jump back to you breaking my heart in 2009 in the Lions tour. I was telling the story of your trying to beat McGeechan was always going to be hard, but how you looked at his type of external motivation compared to your internal motivation of actually on the field. And this is a two-part question. So firstly, what was it like to win a series over the British and Irish Lions? And where would you place the Lions on achievement-wise? Would you put it up with the Tri-Nations? Would you put it as a higher achievement than the World Cup, even? Because I know that some of us in the British Isles do put it higher than the World Cup. But yeah, let us know your thoughts and just how was that series for you?
Yeah, Andy, definitely. I think it's a bit higher than the World Cup for the reason that you talk about all those countries who are partaking in the World Cup. England, Wales, at that stage it was Ireland and Wales were actually very, very competitive in 2009. And then you understand firstly that you're not playing against a team. You're playing against an upgrade of any country in the world. And to have that upgrade, and you could see in the All Blacks were the best in world rugby, but they struggled against the Lions. They couldn't win them. Australia looked like beginners against the Lions. So yeah, you need to understand that you are playing against a world force here. Rugby in the Northern Hemisphere isn't bad. I mean, there's brilliant players up there, and to play against an upgrade of all those players, you need a brilliant coach to get all those minds synced so that they can understand what the goal of. And I know the infights between the little countries there. The Welsh people don't like this, and the English people don't like that, and now they have to rub shoulders in one scrum and all those kind of nonsense, you know. But what I did understand is that people can change tactics any day of the week, but nobody can change their mindset. They can change their mind, but they can't change their mindset. If your mind is set on something in life, that is how you will approach it. Church, work, shopping, sport, anything you will approach it. And I understood. I went to study McGeechan. I went to study him, and I understood his mindset. And I knew that because of being an external motivator, I also understood that external motivation can only go for a certain time. And when that goes down, people start questioning each other, people will have fighting each other. And then I knew that the infights between the countries will come out, you know. Because I told you we had to select this player and that one is better and I play better with this one and all those kind of nonsense, you know. And then you had the macho guys in the front row who thought that they had the world at their feet, you know. And then they never understood we had Bokkes and we had Scout Burger and we had all those kind of guys who were at any day you have to lock them up just to contain them, you know. I mean, I think it's worse for them now in this lockdown period to live than it's any other time of their life. And that is how we went forward in trying to do that. And what I knew is if we can get ahead, they will start fighting each other. And yeah, now you must understand, I had to make a tight head out of John Smith to go into that series, you know. We had to actually get him 5 kgs heavier than what you were when you were at hooker. Different mindset, different attributes, all those kind of things. But we had the team. I was open with them as I had the team to back him. I had him to back himself. I mean the kind of talks I had to have with him before he said yes was I mean, if I can get today an accolade for the best liar in the world, I would definitely get it when I spoke to him about things, you know. But I had to convince him that how great he is, and nobody can be better than him. And the one guy who stood out in that series, the one guy I think it's an unsung hero in that series, were Beast. Beast was an underdog. Not everybody in the Springbok side wanted him there because he was a converted 8th man to prop 2, you know. So he was not that technically strong in that position. But we had around him people who could scrum with him. And when we got the cornerstone of the Alliance team going backward, because they built everything around their scrummaging. Wow, they are, I don't know, conventional kind of thinking. They think if you can scrum good, you can tackle good, you can fall harder, you can do everything. And when Buckies came in there and they cleaned out that first ruck, I'm telling you now, things just changed around, and the tries that John scored, that was a brilliant try, set up the whole thing on the right path. But the guy was outstanding there in that try. Those who stood out in that try was Ruan Pinar. He actually crossed the green line and nobody could contain him. And that ball came back so quickly. While we were still coming around the corner, the ball was there. Sure, everything just worked as we practiced it. And the rest is actually history. We should have won that thing 3-0, everybody said. But why would you, if you have a squad and the thing has already been won, and you know there's a Tri Nations coming, and you want that squad as strong as it should be, why do you want to go win 3-0 and then lose your Tri Nation series? So I had to make it work, that people could think, hey, I need to work hard for my spot in the side. So, wow, I'm telling you now, that for the players, I think that was huge. For most of them, it was bigger than winning the World Cup, I suppose.
Coach, can I ask you, when you're offline now, and then I was speaking about the mental side of it, how much psychology goes into preparing for a game and preparing for a tournament? Let's say, how much time do you spend motivating, getting him into a mindset of, you can do this?
You know, a lot of coaches like to have one-on-ones. I'm not a big one-on-one coach because I don't like to lie to players. You know, my motivation come when I walk into you, and the spirit in me from above, the wisdom says, this is what you need now. I need to talk to you about this now, about that now. Nobody's prepared. Everybody's it's caught off guard. They understood it. If you tell somebody you are the best hooker and he doubts himself, he will never be the best hooker.
Yeah.
But if you tell your guy, listen here, you only do this, yes, then you're going to be the best hooker. You understand? We're getting it. Then suddenly you understand, wow, am I that short of being the best hooker or the best flank or the best this? If you tell a guy like Scout Bird, you are still the best flanker in South Africa, but you are going to drop you in the next few games because you are underperforming. Although you're underperforming, you are still better than the other guys. I can't play you because the other guy is doing his best, and then you see how Scott Burger kill people after that. So you need to understand what buttons to press on what people. Some guys you can say, listen here, like Buckies. I said to Buckies, when Buckies doubted himself, he came to me. I said, Buckies, understand one thing. Why are you born? You're born to hurt people. If you can't hurt people anymore, I can't select you. So go out there and hurt whatever you see.
That's amazing.
And that paved the way for a PSP's a Johan Smith to run into the spaces. Do you understand what I'm getting at? So you need to understand what and who you're working with, and where they can be, and how you're going to get there. If you understand that, I'm telling you now, halfway you've won the battle already.
Yeah, absolutely. And just quickly before we go to the last question, just on Beast, obviously, it wasn't that long ago he sort of came out and questioned your ability as a coach. I mean, you gave him that opportunity in the Lions, and he took it with both hands. There's no two ways about it. As Phil Vickery. But how's that make you feel looking back now? After I'm assuming you put a lot of time into him and gave him that chance. He questioned you like that.
When I can do everything over again, I will still select the man. Beast has now become a centurion. His life has been changed forever. That is the small things that I actually orchestrated in his life. If he can't understand that, that's nothing to do with me. If he fall in the trap of the regime, so that that's not Beast. I know Beast. That's not Beast. It is somebody who abused Beast to break me down. Because if it were Beast, what gives him the right to talk about junior years if he didn't play under me junior years? How can he? You understand? You can't distinguish between those things. You can't compare those two if you weren't there. I can't tell the people that you can't speak Afrikaans if I don't speak to you. You understand? We're getting it. So I understand that it's not Beast. Money has transformed our community to such an extent that we say yes before we think. And why did you think did they pull the book back? They pulled the book back because Beast felt a bit uncomfortable. But for the money, let's go for it. So I don't blame the individual. I just blame the fact that maybe he bunked a certain class at school and he didn't develop enough to understand what people is doing to him, you know.
Fantastic. Joe, can we just bring up Joande's question from earlier, please? Because this is something that I wanted to ask myself as well, which is...
Hi, yeah, absolutely. Lad Joe, welcome to tonight's show, Drie, Bokke, Ball and Board, with the legendary former Springbok and South African Rugby head coach, Peter de Villiers. Peter, it's been absolute real pleasure listening to tonight. We got a great question there from Joandre Joubert. I hope my half Scouse Irish Spring Afrikaans accent into it. What is your biggest regret as the Springbok coach, Peter? What is your biggest regret?
Yo, Jandre, yo. I can speak.
Good man, Jandre.
I think my biggest regret. My biggest regret is that I couldn't take control of winning and losing in the World Cup. I did everything that I could do for my players, for my country. I put my family aside for my country and all those kind of things. But the one day that my players needed me the most, that day when we played in New Zealand, in Wellington against Australia, and the scoreboard said differently, and they wanted me to go change the scoreboard. That is the one thing. And my regret is that we didn't allow, or we did allow somebody to control our lives for us who weren't part of our journey from 2008 to 2011. So that is my biggest regret. The fact that I was the Springbok coach then, I had to apply myself according to an ambassador of my country, might be part of the regret, because if Peter de Villiers didn't have that Springbok jacket on, he would have gone to Bryce Lawrence and he would have changed his face a bit, you know. But then but then you had to when you sit in that change room, and I said to God, why did you put me in a situation like this to face this men who became in 1 second in front of my eyes boys with a small heart of yeah, we knew we were the best, but we underperformed today because of circumstances. And I'm not giving all the blame to Bryce Lawrence, but what people must understand about Test rugby, if you play badly on the day and the ref is against you too, you will never win a test. But you will play badly and the ref is just, you still have a chance to win it. Or if the ref is bad and you play good, you can go win it. You just have to be on song on the day. But other than that, I don't have any regrets. I don't think so, because if you look at what the rugby reporters said about me, I feel so good about the things they said about me, because I never worked with anybody as stupid as the rugby reporters. They never said that I wasn't good enough as a coach. They never said I wasn't strong enough as a tactician. They never said I'm not strong enough. I can't handle. I can't work with people. All the attributes that I need for my job, they never criticized. They criticized all the things that weren't in my job description, and they made them. I said, okay, be there. So what I'm saying about them, they look at me and they look up and they saw me up there and they said, Peter, you are so high, you're going to injure yourself, you're going to get hurt. What they never understood, what was too high for them was normal for me. And in that normality that I walked, a lot of my fellow South Africans with me, people who are proud of their country because of a time in their life, they felt part of something that belonged to them. And that is my biggest thing. I need on this platform to tell you guys of winning the Tri Nations, winning the Lions and winning Tri Nations. Who's waiting at the airport for me? The president of the country. So now I am the big guy. I'm speaking to the country from a platform with the president. And on my way back to the airport to catch a plane to Cape Town, two people stopped me from Japan, and the guy asked me, photo? And I said to myself, wow, even this people knows me. So I said, yes. And then he gave me the camera. So I had to take the photo. It just shows you the eyes of your life can become a low in 1 second, and that through the eyes of the camera.
Fantastic. I think we've got one more question that Joe just wants to throw on the screen for you.
Yeah, so guys, I was just adding Andre back in there. Let me just go. We've got one great question from Leroy, who says, Coach Peter, who was the toughest player you'd ever coached for the Boks? Who's the toughest player you ever had to coach for the Boks?
Okay, answer that two ways, Peter. Who was the toughest to coach, as in he was a difficult person, and who's the toughest on the field?
The toughest on the field, definitely BlitzBOD. I'm telling you now, if BlitzBOD runs onto the field, the grass dies. That man was just something terrible. I coached him since under 19, and I knew what his capabilities were. I'm gonna answer the toughest players to work with. Nobody was tough to work with in my mind, because I could work with everybody and I could understand them. I had plus minus 5 players who were uncoachable. And when players become uncoachable, coaches feel threatened. I loved it. I loved it when players become uncoachable, because when players become uncoachable, I could challenge them, they could challenge me. But tomorrow when we play a test, those are the guys who will make a plan that we win the games, because they can take responsibility. They challenge you, they challenge the system, they challenge everything, you know. I'm telling you now, I had really great in my side, but I had naughty guys too. I mean, I had to stop John de Villiers and Rainer Bana. I had to stop them in the road from doing stupid things. Adrian Jacobs and Ricky January, hell, they gave me some grey hair that I never deserved. The big scout burger, Furida Pre. Wow, I'm telling you now, they were great. I'm telling you, that were different people. There were people who would challenge the clock. If you set a time for them to be whatever, they will challenge the clock and they will turn it back. They will unlock doors. They will change locks. I had such a hell of a lot of beauty guys to work with, but they actually, when they went into the field, they became animals. And you know what? They understood their responsibilities towards the people of this country.
Yeah. And one last question from me personally, and I think everybody wants to know it. Firstly, we all want to see you back in this game, on the pitch, coaching. So what is next for Peter de Villiers? Where are you going from here? What's the goal for the future? We all want to see you back out there.
Yeah, you know, when you put a seed into the ground, you're not burying the damn thing, you're planting it. So it might take time to sprout and time to come up. But at the right time, it will come out. And when it does come out, I'm telling you, people will enjoy either the shade or the fruit, or they will come and make a toilet under you. But you will be there, being there forever, and people can do whatever they do, but you will be there for them. I hope that God grants me the opportunity to coach another team. If I can do that, I want to leave something with the players, and that is that playing rugby is not your ultimate goal. Your ultimate goal is to play rugby to become somebody in life. Because what I can leave here today is that money can't buy a name, but a name can make money. And if I can be instrumental in finding people's purposes in life, then I can die with a smile on my face.
I love it. I love it. Well, perfect answer to end the show. Peter, we cannot thank you enough. And none of the Wi-Fi issues were anybody's fault, other than the fact that we live in a third world country, mate. But amazing. I can't thank you enough. We love your honesty. Don't ever change. I've said that to you before. Stay true to yourself. So, Peter, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for coming on today and being so honest and open with us.
Joe, Andy, Andre, and everybody who's tuned in, thank you so much for the opportunity to allow me into your space. And I hope that when we meet again, you know me. I don't know you, but feel free to walk up to me and just say, hey, stupid, come and let me teach you some manners. And I'll be free to do that.
Superb. Right, guys, just on the last few notes before we go, always a bit of admin. So obviously, you know that we are Drie Bokke, but we are part of the Three Blokes of Ball and Bod family, which is growing constantly. I'm not even sure if Joe sleeps anymore because of what he's doing. But believe it or not, he's got another show coming. So he's got the Ulster Rugby Roundup show with the, as he calls them up there, and I believe they enjoy this. They're called White Walkers Chat and Crack. Guys in South Africa, crack is spelled C-R-A-I-C. If you need, basically it means a load of banter and more, but only in the way that the Irish can do it. That is on Wednesday, the 24th of June. Okay, that's next Wednesday at 8:30, 20-30 hours in the UK and Ireland. So make sure you log into that. That is going to be superb. The other thing that I clearly keep forgetting to mention on the show is that we do have a YouTube channel up and running now. There is a Three Blokes of Ball and Bod Master YouTube channel, so go on there, and under there will be the playlists for all of the shows that we take part in. So the Big Joe and Kigo shows on there, the Leinster shows on there, my show, so our shows on there from the South African point of view. So they're all on there. Go and have a look. There's so much good content there, and when we're in a time where we can't get too much rugby content other than a bit in an ungodly hour in New Zealand on a Sunday morning, you should definitely go and check some of the stuff out there, especially if you are a global rugby fan, because it covers everything in there, and you will see a lot of famous faces. And the third thing is, Joe has bestowed upon me, where you will be, a Facebook page of our own, and all the other shows will be getting exactly the same as well. So although everything at the moment goes through the Three Blokes, a Ball and BOD Facebook page, what's going to happen going forward is that there will be a Drie Bokke Facebook page, which is going to be really, really cool. And we will make sure that everyone follows that because the content going on in there will be superb. All the shows will be on there. It'll be so much easier for you to find. And also, we just constantly send Joe stuff and then he has to put it on there, which isn't fair on him. But I think splitting them, but always remember that we are part of the Three Blokes, a Ball and BOD. I keep saying a BOD, but there's only one. There's one dog, BOD. So apologies for that. Guys, thank you so much for this evening and bearing with us with sort of a few technological issues. Peter, thank you once again for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep coming with the comments. I might even send a few questions over to Peter and he can answer them, and I'll add them to the bottom of the news feed there, so that anyone that's commented tonight can see some of the answers that Peter gives to the other questions. If you would be happy to do that, sir. He said,
am working for you.
This is very true, but that's another story for another time. Guys, have a great evening further, and Dre, thank you so much for your time this evening. And we're going to put up a 5G mast right in the middle of where we all live. One of the healthy ones. But guys, from us this evening, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time, where we have another show with some more famous faces, and you will enjoy that one too. Good night, guys.
Good night.